Now to The Hague and the breaking news from the International Court of Justice. A short time ago, the court questioned Israel's accusations against a key United Nations relief agency, and it reaffirmed Israel's obligation to ensure enough aid is getting into Gaza. Now, the UN asked for the court's opinion after Israel blocked aid into the war-ravaged territory last year. Since the October 10th ceasefire, aid delivery has remained limited. And the CBC's Crystal Gamansing is following this story for us from Jerusalem. She brings us the latest on the court's opinion.
The International Court of Justice was asked to look at several different points as a part of a request for an advisory opinion. This is not a legally binding opinion, but it will go towards building a case to ask Israel to change its positions. Let's start, first of all, with one of the points. That was the allowing of aid in a certain amount, a sufficient amount to get into the Gaza Strip. Now, on that question, the International Court of Justice has said that states saying that they are combating terrorism must comply with obligations under international law, that an occupying power must ensure that the population is supplied with all of its necessary daily needs, including food, water, and adequate shelter. They are using Article 59 as the basis for this question, and that the Court of International, the ICJ, has said that the occupying power may never use reasons of security to justify the suspension of that delivery. Now, we do know that Israel did halt all supplies as of March 2nd, 2025. They allowed some limited supplies to return as of May 19th. But based on what the ICJ says is that Israel did not provide the local population with enough food and basic necessities that they would be required to provide. When it came to the question about UNRWA, that main agency that Israel last year said they could no longer operate in Israel, that no employees of Israel were able to work with an employee of UNRWA, and they had to leave their offices here. The court has found that Israel didn't provide enough evidence, saying that UNRWA, as the main agency, no evidence was provided to suggest that it discriminated based on nationality, religious beliefs, and that it says that while the idea of neutrality is also a concept that is related. It says that Israel did not provide enough information, that it was infiltrated or its facilities were used by Hamas. And it said the fact that the UN did an investigation and dismissed 9 members who potentially could have been involved in October 7th showed that they did take the issue seriously, and again found that UNRWA is the main provider of aid. No one would be able to go in and replicate their services. Therefore, they would be the obvious choice to ensure those sufficient supplies. It did make a point of saying that the occupying power does have the right to select the agency that would provide those services. But again, they're saying it has to be one that can provide it at scale to meet daily requirements. Let's hear a little bit more from the judge reading the decision today in The Hague.
Other provisions of the Fourth Geneva Convention confirm that aid can be impeded only temporarily and for narrowly circumscribed reasons. For example, the second sentence of Article 60 provides that, and I quote, "The occupying power shall in no way whatsoever divert relief consignments from the purpose for which they are intended, except in case of urgent necessity, in the interest of the population of the occupied territory."
Now, if we take that and apply it to today, right now, Arthi, we do know that aid agencies with the current ceasefire, with the peace plan, are saying they are not getting enough aid into Gaza. I spoke earlier with Kate Newton of the World Food Program, and she said they need more routes in, they need more access to be able to help all of those who are in desperate need of all sorts of different supplies in Gaza.
Right now, we're only able to use 2 crossings into the Gaza Strip. We have no crossing at all in the north, and we really desperately, urgently need to have a crossing point into the north. If we had more crossing points, we would be able to deliver more aid, and we have a lot of aid sitting outside the Gaza Strip, in the neighbouring countries and in Israel, that we could accelerate and get inside and move across the Gaza Strip to where it's urgently needed, but we do need more crossing points.
And those 2 crossings that are currently being used are Kerem Shalom and Kisufim. As she mentioned, those only go into the south. There is nothing entering the north. Also, Arthi, we know that the Rafah border crossing is still closed. Israel said that that one wouldn't reopen until further notice. There is a push from a number of different agencies to open all of the crossings as soon as possible. Israel is, based on the ICJ decision we just heard, has the right to inspect all of the items going in, but not limit or impede access to those basic required necessities, Arthi.
And Crystal, I also want to ask you about another big aspect today of the Gaza story, and that's the fact that we know the U.S. Vice President J.D. Vance is in Israel, and he's holding meetings with Israel's Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu and other officials that are part of the government. What are you hearing on that front?
Yeah, he met earlier today with Israel's President Isaac Herzog. He also met with the Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu. These were relatively brief meetings, and we knew that they were going to talk about regional security. They were going to talk about redevelopment of Gaza. They were going to talk about how to move forward, not only adhering to phase 1, but get into phase 2 negotiations, and then eventually, as J.D. Vance has said, long-term and endurable peace in the region.
As the Prime Minister said, these are days of destiny, and we're very excited to sit down and work together on the Gaza peace plan. We have a very, very tough task ahead of us, which is to disarm Hamas, but rebuild Gaza to make life better for the people in Gaza, but also to ensure that Hamas is no longer a threat to our friends in Israel. That's not easy. I think the Prime Minister knows that as well as anybody, but it's something that we're committed to in the Trump administration.
Now, Arthi, you might sort of notice listening to the clip, those are very broad, overarching sort of statements. We have not heard any specifics about plans or conversations, whether it was the meeting with the Prime Minister or the President. So a lot of this not necessarily being made public at this time. Some of these comments we heard him made while he was in the U.S., not even here in the region. So waiting to see more specific, granular information. In the meantime, the U.S. Vice President has also been meeting with members of the Hostages and Missing Family Forum and individuals who were just recently released, Arthi.
The CBC's Crystal Gumansing reporting for us from Jerusalem.